How's it going, guys? So people have been expressing some interest in learning some Phish tunes and maybe expanding some guitar knowledge and vocabulary at the same time. So I figured maybe I'd throw a video or two together and see if I can help you out. I want to talk a little bit about the Caged system today, and I'm going to try to give you a little exercise that you could do to kind of get a little better with it using a Phish song. So should be actually somewhat musical and not just practicing a bunch of mindless bullshit. Um, so yeah, the Caged system, hopefully you guys are familiar with it. If not, a quick rundown of it. It's basically taking the open chords C, A, G, E, and D and using those shapes to move around the fretboard and find other ways to play chords. So your homework basically before we start is to know all that. So you've got your C, A, G, E, and D. Okay? So I'm a little out of tune here, but I'm not going to take time to tune right now. So a couple of things about this. You want to be able to play those with multiple fingerings. So C in particular, a lot of people play that with their ring finger as the, let's see if I can get that up here a little bit. That's not working. There we go. So a lot of people will play it like this. You want to be able to play it like this as well. Because if you move, when you move that, you need your index finger to be the bar behind that. Okay. I don't always recommend playing all 6 notes at a time. You'll notice like on that one right there. It's a weird interval right there. So, and it's kind of doubling up the third. So, but anyways, that's the bulk of what you need to know. And like you can use just or just this. So, same thing with A. Find a lot of different fingerings, so when you move that, you can grab it any way you need to, you know. And with that, you can play all 6 if you want to. Again, I don't really ever recommend that. I kind of like to, even strumming, like you might go between different things. You know. The G, I've pretty much grown accustomed to playing this with my ring finger as the root. Because when you get up here, it gets a little more tricky. And this is another one I definitely don't recommend playing a full 6-string version of it. I usually stay right about there. Or you can do the top of it. Okay. E, again, like I went right to this because I'm used to moving it around. So I recommend kind of getting used to playing these chords with your index finger kind of behind the nut. E and then D. Interesting thing about D, and this is a chord that Trey uses a lot, to do all 6 strings. In open position, I curl my thumb across the top so that I grab that F sharp there. That's the 3rd of the chord. So this is actually an inversion, as some of the other ones are too. A is an inversion because that's got the 5th in the bass. But anyways, right here it's a first inversion, and that chord. That's how Trey uses this a lot. I know I've seen him use it in Bathtub Gin, The Curtain, a couple other ones. Because he does that, something like that. So that second one, that's basically a D-shaped A right there. So get familiar with all the different fingerings and the way you can use them. And that one's really important, like I said. In Bathtub Gin, a lot of people think that that's a C minor that he's playing, the F to C minor, but it's actually F to E flat. So, and then in Rift, I think he uses that same shape as well. But so, point is, get familiar with all the different chord shapes and be able to move them around. Know where your roots are so that you can find those chords really easily. So that's all stuff that's on you. Once you know that, then you can start actually using this this idea, this drill that I'm going to show you a little more. So let's get into that right now. All right, so we're using Acdc Bag as the song for this drill. I'm not trying to teach you how to play Acdc Bag. I'm giving you a musical way to practice chords and get a little more familiar with them. But it's always nice to practice. I think I don't like running, your standard like that kind of shit. I think it's, I don't know, more harm than good sometimes. But I'm giving you a musical way to practice. It's a song that a lot of you probably know already, so you're familiar with it. And yeah, the chords are A, C, D, C, F, A, G. And the way he does it is probably something more like this. Something like that. And you'll notice he's kind of bouncing around the fretboard a lot there. Right? Which is fine when you're playing the song, but we're not really playing the song. We're playing those chords in order to practice. So what we're going to do is we're going to start in one position, and we're going to play all of those chords, the whole verse through, without changing position at all. The verse starts on A, ends on G. So when you're on that G, whatever shape you're playing of G, you're going to move that up 2 frets, and that becomes your next A, the start of the next verse. And so yeah, this song really lends itself to this kind of drill. So here's an example of how you would use it and how you play it. Up 2 frets. Up 2 frets. Up 2 frets. Guess what? Up 2 frets. Okay, so that's the idea. You're gonna find, if you get all the way up the neck like that, you've played 5 versions of every single chord. You played it in every shape: C, A, G, E, and D. So that's basically what you're trying to get out of that. All right, so now that you've mastered that whole sequence and can play it forwards and backwards with your eyes closed and upside down and all that, there's 2 more things that we can do with this to really try to get the most out of it. The first thing I would do, once I'm comfortable running that drill and I can do it pretty much without screwing up each time, and again, or not again, I haven't mentioned this, I definitely recommend a metronome. Timing is always an issue with guitar players, so use a metronome. If you have to slow it down, do it. And eventually you'll get to where you can do it pretty quickly. But the next thing you want to do is, so we're going to use 2 different shapes per chord. So per bar per chord. So like for A, we might use, right? C, we might go. For D, you know, just moving around. F. Something like that. And just, you know, run it until you're bored with it, or just, you know, never making a mistake, and then maybe pick up your speed a little bit or something like that. Yeah. Next thing we can do is we can start to, instead of strumming, we can use this as kind of a springboard for getting into some soloing. There's not one diatonic scale for this based on its all major chords moving around. So you can use like some blues and stuff like that if you want to. I think you'll be fine with that. But if you're really looking for chord tone soloing and to really kind of, I think when you're playing melodically, you should try to make it so that if you took all the background music out of it, all the rhythm section and everything, that you'd still know what the chords were. So like if you're playing A, you know, you want to be on, you know, that's all chord tones right there. For C, same deal. You know, and they all just come out of all of these shapes. And so that's kind of the next spot that I would go. It might be a little advanced for some. I haven't practiced this. I just know that it's a technique that I've worked on a little bit here and there. So, you know, you can find your shapes and just go from there. That kind of stuff. And don't try to play, you know, way outside of your means. Like a note or two here or there is all you really need. Yeah, so hopefully that gets you kind of moving around the fretboard. And it's a musical way to practice. You feel like you're playing a song, which you are. And also just kind of helps you get that into your head and under your fingers and the whole 9 yards. So, you know, I hope this was helpful. Let me know. Shoot me a message or a comment and let me know what you think. I'll see you next time.